This is not a story of battles fought with pikes and cannon. This is a story of a war waged in antechambers, in the folds of a dress, on the edge of a whispered confession. The battlefield was the French court. The general was Catherine de' Medici, the Italian queen mother, fighting to preserve her son's crumbling power. And her most potent, most controversial weapon was not an army, but a carefully curated unit of the most beautiful, intelligent, and unscrupulous women in Europe. Her flying squadron. To understand the squadron, you must first understand the siege. Catherine, the outsider, Florentine queen, found herself regent for a line of young, sickly Valois kings in a kingdom tearing itself apart. The enemy was everywhere. The powerful, scheming House of Guise, the rising tide of Protestant Huguenots, and the relentless Spanish Habsburgs watching from across the border. She had money, she had diplomats, but in the corridors of power, information was the true currency, and influence was the only weapon that mattered. She needed intelligence. She needed leverage. She needed to get inside the minds and secrets of the most powerful men in France. And so, she recruited, but not soldiers. She recruited ladies-in-waiting, noblewomen, court beauties. Historians still debate the exact roster, but names like Charlotte de Sceaux, Isabelle de Limoux, and the sly, witty Duchess of Étampes are forever linked to it. These were not common courtesans. They were elite operatives. Their mission? To seduce, befriend, and enthrall key political targets. To extract secrets from a pillow, to sway a vote with a pleading look, to isolate an enemy by making him a lover. Catherine provided them with everything. Lavish apartments, exquisite dresses, jewels that were both payment and tool. She was their spinmistress, their financier, their protector. In return, they delivered reports. Who was plotting with Spain? Which duke was bankrupt and susceptible to a bribe? What did the Huguenot leader really want? The flying squadron turned the court-esque res device's decadence and intrigue into Catherine's primary intelligence network. The most infamous alleged operation, the destabilization of the Protestant leader, Admiral Gaspard de Coligny. The story goes that a member of the squadron was tasked with captivating him, not to murder him directly, but to compromise his judgment, to make him vulnerable to weave a web of passion and politics that would ultimately help lead him to the slaughter of the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. Whether true in detail, the legend itself is telling. The squadron was believed capable of steering the fate of nations from the bed. But was this truly a masterstroke of political genius, or the desperate, immoral act of a cornered woman? The flying squadron is the ultimate Rorschach test for Catherine de' Medici's legacy. To her defenders, it was a brilliant, pragmatic adaptation. In a man's world that denied her direct power, she weaponized the only assets she fully controlled: the women of her court and the desires of the men who ruled it. She turned a systemic objectification of women into a tool for female agency, however dark. She was Machiavelli in a farthingale to her critics, and there were many of them, and now it was the deepest corruption. It was state-sanctioned prostitution that debased the crown, cynically exploiting the very women she was supposed to protect. It fostered a court culture of such toxic paranoia and hedonism that it accelerated France's descent into chaos. It painted Catherine not as a shrewd ruler, but as a monstrous macaire, the Black Queen of legend. The truth, as always, lives in the murky twilight between the archives and the gossip. The flying squadron's power was likely as much myth as reality, a terrifying story her enemies eagerly spread to discredit her. But the power of a myth is itself a historical fact. The very belief that the Queen Mother commanded a legion of lovely spies shaped how every duke, ambassador, and king behaved. It made every smile at court a potential stratagem. It made Catherine, a woman often sidelined in official councils, the most feared and omniscient figure in every room. In the end, the flying squadron may be Catherine de' Medici's most fitting, if chilling, legacy. It embodies her worldview: politics as total war, where every intimacy is a potential ambush, every gift a bribe, and every heart a fortress to be stormed. She looked at the chessboard of Europe and saw that the most powerful pieces were not just the kings and rooks, But the queen's end, she decided to deploy all of hers. She understood that in the dark tapestry of power, the threads of silk are often stronger than those of steel, and that the most devastating siege is not of a city wall, but of a single, vulnerable human will.